Dear community, dear friends, all of us are affected by the terrible news coming out of Israel. We find ourselves in deep distress, pain, worry, devastation at the unprecedented scenes of brutality and terror that we're witnessing. Beyond the pain, we're struggling to process what we're seeing, to make sense of it. What does this mean? How can it be happening? What's going on? And how are we meant to make that transition from a sukkos of simcha, of joy, a Shemini Atzeres, a Simchas Torah, to this devastating state that we now find ourselves in. And yet, at the same time, we're all impacted also in slightly different ways. Whether it's immediate or more distant friends and family in Israel, or indeed much of the community that happens to be in Israel as we speak, having visited over the Chag and perhaps now struggling to return, grappling with the rise of more local anti-Semitism here in London, or just simply all of us dealing with pain and anxiety and worry differently, or relating, as we all do differently, to emunah and to the spiritual and family support that we find comfort in. And I want to revisit what I said yesterday in Shul, because whilst we think of unity and journeying as being a straight line, a clear goal, a progression, and clearly seeing ourselves moving forward together, on Simchas Torah we engage in a different type of unity. We danced in hakafot, in circles. A circle, whilst having the same focus and also being unified, calls on all of us to move in a slightly different direction. What makes it a circle is that the person in front of me is moving slightly differently to I, and the person behind me is moving into a different angle in turn. And it's not just others, but we ourselves. To keep the circle going, we have to constantly shift which way we're focusing, which way we're turning, whilst keeping our focus on the center of the circle. And I think that this is the situation we find ourselves in now. At the same time as we experience unbearable pain at each casualty as individuals, and collectively at the largest number of Jews murdered in a single day since the Holocaust, extreme anxiety and worry at innocent civilians taken into captivity or young men and ladies separated from their families to serve so bravely in the Tzahal, we can and must balance competing emotions. Yesterday, we balanced a Simchas Torah. Here in Chutz La'aretz, we celebrated, albeit in a dampened way, and then we cried together as we davened. And this is what we have always done as Jews for thousands of years, and indeed it's being done across Israel. We have simchas, engagements, and weddings in our communities, nachas and happy times. We need to remind ourselves of the brachas that we have, the blessings we have in our lives. The bracha of Israel, the state of Israel, safe and secure ultimately, with a tzahal that knows how to and is dealing with these painful and difficult situations. Personally, going through fear and worry about our loved ones, and yet knowing at the same time, Hinei lo yonom v'lo yishon shomei Yisrael, that God is with us. And it's right and appropriate that we have times of calmness and simchas achayim, appreciation of life, to continue to see the positives, the moments of joy and the brachas that we have. We feel pain, we empathize, we worry, but we also share. Most importantly about a circle, we look at each other, we face each other as we're in a circle. We look at each other in the eye, in the heart, with our hearts, and we feel for each other. We give chizuk, a listening ear, we care. And that's what a hakafa is. To be proud that we're Jewish, to feel the pain, to feel the joy, to feel the closeness of each and every one of us with each other and ultimately with Hashem. The protector of Israel neither sleeps nor slumbers. He's with us as we walk, as we go through the valley of the shadow of death, and as we celebrate our joyous times together. Hashem is always there, accompanying us. I want to spend a moment talking about how we deal with this on a perhaps more practical level. And the first thing I want to highlight before we go a little deeper is just to focus for a moment on our well-being and the well-being of our families and our children. Our children are all too aware of what's going on. Perhaps for little children, the best we can do is to shelter them from the news. But certainly as they get older, they're going to be hearing it and understanding what's going on. And they may be struggling with conflicting emotions, with worry and anxiety about friends and family in Israel and their own safety and security. We need to speak to them. We need to help them understand and share what we ourselves are going through. We need to talk honestly about our emotions and our feelings and our fears, and at the same time also distract them so that they're not constantly being bombarded by new alerts and new news. We need to remind them that sometimes it's time to switch off, that constant updates can feel overwhelming, that taking a break to connect with friends, with family, to play a game, to exercise, to look after their health, all of that is important. We need to speak to them about the crazy impact on our physical and mental health and state of what a normal response is to an abnormal situation, and to remind them of how to process this, to encourage them to check in, to speak openly to us, to speak openly to each other, and above all, perhaps, for us to continue to embody, despite the stress we're feeling, calmness and patience, and to make sure we get quality time, that we're going for a walk with them, that we're interacting with our kids, so that we are there by their sides, so that they can speak and share with us what their feelings, and of course remind them to look out for their safety, and if need be, if they do feel threatened, to be vigilant, to contact the CST and the police. What else can we say? What else can we do? We must, of course, continue to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to daven to Hashem. We feel that at this time of conflict, the best way to engage in tefillah is b'achdus, in harmony and unity, and as such, we'll be joining the public tefillah arranged by the United Synagogue in partnership with the Chief Rabbi this evening, and I'll put more details on the emails that will go out with this message. Also, please do let us know the names of any family members who are serving in the army at the moment, so that we can add them to our communities tefillahs. And again, I'll put in the email details about how you can do this. But above all, it's not just about one-off tefillah events, it's about ongoing prayer. Finding ways that we can strengthen ourselves, ways to improve, just saying an extra tefillah, making the extra effort to be in shul to daven with a minyan, and when we're there to have kavod, tefillah, respect for prayer, learning about the meaning of the words, that we can daven with greater sincerity and greater kavanah. All this is part of what engaging in true tefillah is. But at the same time as we're doing that, we might be feeling a little jaded. We might be asking, we had an Elul, a Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. We wished each other Shana Tova. May we have and share a year of health and safety and happiness. How can it be that our tefillahs have been so ignored? How can it be that after all that, this is the Simchat Torah we faced? What's going on? And there are no simple answers. Bitochen, belief in Hashem, is not a simple thing. God tells us, Lo drachai drachechem, v'lo machshavosai machshavosechem. My ways are not your ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts. We don't understand Hashem's plan for the world. David HaMelech turned to God and said, Keli, Keli, my God, lama azavtani. Why have you deserted me? Why am I left feeling so alone and neglected and uncared for by you? And if David HaMelech could say it, we too can say it. We can cry out to Hashem and be honest about what we're feeling. We read on Simchat Torah, and we'll read again next Shabbos, Parshas Bereshis, in which God said, Na'aseh Adam b'Tzalmenu. Hashem creates the human being and he says, let us make man in our image. And the commentaries explain that God is turning to the malachim, the angels, and the animals, and he's saying to them, I'm about to create this creature, a human being, and you are partnering in that creation, because a human is creating of soaring to the most lofty heights, of being malach-like, angel-like in their behavior, or God forbid, of descending to the lowest points, of being a beast, an animal, in the cruelty that they're capable of displaying. Hashem said to us that we are created b'tselem Elokim, in the image of Hashem, with the godlike ability to make choices, to make a difference, with the awesome responsibility, gift, and sometimes curse, as we witnessed recently, of free will. Dear Kehillah, when we see monstrosity, when we see terrible and evil behavior, when we see people making a difference in such a negative way, we need to make a difference positively. We need to use this time to draw down spirituality, to draw down goodness, to draw down awareness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of godliness and purpose and meaning and value in the world. And if we can do that, then hopefully we can make this world of ours and ourselves that little bit better, that little bit more ruchni, that little bit more spiritual, and hopefully bring Yeshua, redemption, to this devastating situation. In Hallel yesterday, we turned to Hashem and we said, Ahavti, we love you, God, ki yishma Hashem es koli tachanunoi, because you hear the words, my words, the words of my plea, ki hita ozneli, because you bend an ear to me. But just because Hashem turns an ear to us, because he hears our prayers, doesn't mean he answers it in the way that we would always want. David HaMelech carries on, I was found in a hell-like scene of pain. Sorrow of anguish and grief I've been found in. And nonetheless, nonetheless, I call out in the name of Hashem. Because we recognize that davening is about speaking, about knowing that Hashem wants to listen to us, knowing that he wants to hear our deepest feelings, but not necessarily that he'll just immediately fulfill our wishes. We know he listens, but it's about the relationship, the communication. And we should engage in tefillah, in English, from the heart, speaking to Hashem, saying what we're feeling, even if these words are words of devastating loneliness and sense of neglect, as David HaMelech said, but to communicate to Hashem, to find that za'akah, that cry from the heart. That's what it means to engage in tefillah. Of course, we must also engage in tzedakah, to respond with extreme generosity to all the vital and important causes that are there at the moment. Many of them are going out via our own Shul WhatsApp group and many other WhatsApp groups. Please continue to donate generously. And if for some reason you want to donate via a UK charity, or you want to donate to tzedakah that my wife and I have personally checked out, then I'll post a link again via the email that's going out of how you can do so via the Ner Gemach, and we'll make sure that it goes to important and worthy causes. But beyond what tzedakah does for the recipients, it does for us. It brings down again that spirituality, that ruchnius, that wave of generosity into the world that we so desperately need at the moment. We need to show support personally, reaching out, of course, as we're all doing, to our friends and family in Israel, not just those that we're in regular contact with, but going through our contact list and communicating, reaching out to those who perhaps we haven't spoken to for a while. It makes, as we all know, a massive amount of difference to share words of concern and support and care to our brothers and sisters in Israel and lift them in these difficult times. And of course, reaching out to friends closer here in England who have children, who have family in Israel, perhaps serving in Sahel, or traumatized by being woken up in the morning of a Yom Tov and having to rush to a miklat, a shelter at no notice. And finally, we draw hope and find strength in reminding ourselves of who and what we are. I said yesterday in Shul, we are chosen, we are privileged by the gift of a Torah, which reminds us of our values, reminds us of the core of givingness and goodness and spirituality that we have to find, that doesn't let us descend into when we engage with it, doesn't let us descend into this sheer evil that we're seeing. Baruch Elokeinu, we sang, we bless you, God, for creating us in your honor, for reminding us that there's a purpose and a meaning to life, and for separating us from those who sadly are so lost and so confused that they can behave like animals in this terrible way. I conclude Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael as we daven. Our brothers and sisters, members of Beis Yisrael, members of the house of Israel, and Sunim B'Sorah V'Shivya are literally found in distress and in captivity. May Hashem have mercy on them, on all of us, and lead all of us from constraint to relief, from dark to light, and from oppression to freedom. May we continue to draw strength from who we are, from the Torah that we have at our focus point, from that hakofa, that circle of facing each other, of looking at each other, of moving around that focal point of community and HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Torah. And please do reach out to the Rebbetzin or to myself to update us, to let us know what's going on, or to let us know if we can support you or support anyone else. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for the chizuk and love that you're showing us. And please, God, all together as a community, as Am Yisrael, as a word, with superior Yeshua, with a hope for swift and complete redemption, may there again be Shalom B'Artzeinu, peace in our lands, and security. Amen. Kein Yehi Ratzon.